In this video, we're going to dive into a few reasons why listening comprehension is so diabolic and why we get creative to find out excuses to not do it. And finally, some actionable ways to fix this and not detest listening so much. Let's get right into it. Bonjour et bienvenue sur Chatpolyglotte, une chaîne dédiée aux langues et au plaisir de les apprendre. So, from my experience, of course, because I'm not French, so from my learning experience as a student, from teaching, from my research and all these years of listening to my students, I've been able to narrow it down to 4 reasons. Excuse me if I just look into my notes from time to time. Let's get into it. The first one is a general disinterest and lack of practice. These two go hand in hand, one leads to the other and vice versa, but you bear the brunt of it. Now, it's a well-known fact. The more you listen, the better you get at it. But it is also true that the lesser you understand, the more frustrated you get and the lesser you listen. And this just keeps repeating itself over and over. So this lack of practice obviously leads to a suffered capacity to respond to questions in the exam or even in real life. You should, duh, listen more. But how, you ask, when it is so frustrating, tiring and you don't see progress? I would suggest starting off with things you like listening to. So go back to your YouTube history and see things that you search for, that you look for, that you read about, the blogs that you like to follow, Instagram accounts that you follow, and try and search the same things in French and listen to these things. So listen more, first starting off by things you like. You could also consider listening to music and analyzing the lyrics. That's a great way to learn while still having fun. Let's move on to reason number 2. A poor understanding of French pronunciations. This is something that teachers often overlook. We do our listen more regularly song. Well, it is often overlooked that if you don't understand the system of French pronunciations, it is obvious that you will not understand a few words and hence probably not understand the meaning of an entire sentence. Let's look at a concrete example. Les mesures que vous proposez sont d'après moi non seulement injustes mais aussi dérisoires. And now, if you don't know the rule for the French pronunciation for letters IN and OI, then you obviously didn't understand the 2 key words of the argument. Injuste and
dérisoire.
Solution: review the French pronunciations from time to time until they are assimilated, and something that really helps is reading and listening at the same time. Reason numéro 3. Lack of vocabulary and slang. You guessed it in the previous one. In other words, not understanding words or not having enough vocabulary leads to more frustration in not knowing things and reinforces the idea of lack. I understand. Likewise for slang. People don't really talk in the same way that you learn in your textbooks, obviously. People talk in idioms, in expressions, and in slang. It is therefore very important for you to understand slang when you get on to your intermediate or advanced levels. What I really suggest doing is listening to more and more videos on YouTube and watching Netflix shows because they are shorter as compared to movies and easier to find. Let me narrate to you something from my real life. While I was living in France, I heard people use an expression very often and I never understood it. It sounded something like cab, but I didn't know what it was. I knew the word câble separately. I heard that sentence several times, but I didn't understand. So they used to say, j'ai pété un câble, il a pété un câble pour aucune raison, and I'd never understand it. Pété, I know individually, and câble, I know individually, but together it didn't make any sense in my brain and my neurons couldn't make the connections. So obviously I didn't understand the sentences. I got the context, but I never understood it actually meant I lost it. He lost it for no reason. Il a pété un câble pour aucune raison. J'ai pété un câble. The last reason that also joins the second last in some way and actually puts everything together is just a lack of grammar structures sometimes that you haven't mastered. As a general rule, when we speak, we try to shorten our sentences more and more to speak more effectively and faster. It's the same for French people. Like we say, I wanna or don't know instead of I don't know. So it's going to be difficult for a French person to understand if they don't know this new structure. Don't know. Similarly, in French, they'd say, instead of je ne sais pas, they'd say je sais pas. And to make it even faster and shorter, je sais pas. Je sais pas. If you don't know je sais pas, if you don't know the no is not there, then if you don't know that the je sais pas can also be made je sais pas, then you're not going to understand. Try to always be alert. Read comments on YouTube videos, read comments on Instagram posts. Try to be more curious in general and ask your language coach to help you out with these new structures. Definitely you can ask me, I'd be more than happy to help you out. It could also be the same for structures or grammar rules or grammar tenses that you haven't mastered for your level. For example, the conditionnel passé, le subjonctif passé, or even the plus que parfait. If you haven't mastered them yet, then sentences that relate to them are not going to be very clear. 2 bonus tips. First one, always try to understand the context of the sentence. Try to guess what it would mean. If you have time and if the condition does permit you, ask the speaker what they meant or what was the exact expression that they used and try to write them down to reuse them later. The second bonus tip is, please do not give up. Regardless of how much you understand, you will still understand better than if you didn't listen at all. So do not give up. Keep listening and you will see progress. You will definitely get better. Finally, do follow me on Instagram to not miss out on any French expressions, idioms. I generally illustrate them, act them out, make them funny, and also give examples to make it more clear. Don't forget to also follow me on stories because they are short vlogs in French, very often followed by listening exercises and questions. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me here. I really do appreciate it. À la prochaine. Bisous.